live here from Hohen's Huddle in Schofield, where there's already plenty of Packer fans here, ready for tonight's big game, where the 6-6 Packers take on the 4-8 New York Football Giants, in what looks to be a must-win game for the Pack if they wish to stay in playoff contention. I actually have one of the bartenders here, Tony. Tony, what are Packer fans looking forward to tonight?
Well, we're hoping for a win, that's for sure. But you know what? We are just looking forward to conversing with each other, having some good food, good drinks, just enjoying the night.
And what do you look forward to most, yourself personally, for Packer football here, week in, week out?
It's just fun to be able to wait on these people, and you know what, they're having a good time, and you know what, if I am able to help that in any way, I am so happy to do that, and that's what makes my job enjoyable.
And I heard there's some drink specials tonight with some green sour apple pucker for the Packers, right?
There sure is. Every time the Packers get a touchdown, so hopefully there's a lot of them, you get a shot of that. And then we also have other drinks. And we have our winter drink specials, so hot drinks, and, you know, they're delicious.
Thank you. You heard her, folks. Plenty of drink specials, and the game's going to be on our air at 7:15 tonight. Live at Schofield, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW. This display behind me is just one of dozens of spires that's set up across their Wausau campus, featuring tens and thousands of lights. For the man who puts them all together, it's definitely a labor of love. Aspires has some amazing Christmas displays like the ones you can see here behind me. But while they're pretty to look at, you don't necessarily think about all the work that goes into putting them together. That's where Mark Heinrich comes in. Since a number of the displays have blue and white lights, Mark says those can stay up throughout the winter, since those are seasonal colors. Live in Wausau, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW. All of us know, or should know, how bad an idea it is to get behind the wheel after you've been drinking. But the same can't be said for a pair of handlebars. That's because drunk driving on an ATV is actually treated differently in Wisconsin's law, and it's something that police are struggling with. When it comes to hitting the trails on a four-wheeler, things can feel pretty relaxed. The outdoors, weaving through the woods at high speed, just a fun getaway. But police are noticing a problem. With that fun comes a few drinks. Turns out the drivers and Wisconsin's laws are pretty lax when it comes to drinking and driving on a four-wheeler.
For one, it doesn't affect a driver's license, so it doesn't go on your Department of Transportation driving record. Where through the DNR, it's a forfeiture citation offense.
Right now, there's no effect on your license for a first offense OWI on an ATV. And for those in law enforcement, they enforce the laws and don't make them.
Will that change at some point in the future? That's really not up to law enforcement. That's a legislation, issue or a concern that we don't have control over.
At its worst, ATV drunk driving could lead to trouble, like at the White Lake ATV Club. Sally Mulholland had to deal with that when I talked to them back in September.
This is incredible what they're doing. It's wrong, and I don't understand this.
Other than telling people not to drink and drive, what else can be done? Talk to your local ATV clubs and organizations to make sure you have a good understanding of the do's and don'ts. Many that took up the hobby during the pandemic didn't.
But then when people don't, didn't have any background in it and didn't get connected with a club, that's where a lot of the I guess I would call less than ethical riding habits could happen.
Randy said he and WAFA are trying to work with the state to try and get the laws changed. But in the time being, some local police or sheriff's departments like Wood County also have classes to teach you the rules of the road. And while ATV and UTV season is over for the year, many of those same guidelines apply to snowmobiles too. Don't drive if you're not able. Any questions? Ask your local snowmobile club. And if you see any vandalism or criminal activity, report it. Live in studio, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW. I'm live here right by a snowmobile crossing members of Polka Snows, a Stevens Point snowmobiling club love to frequent. And take a quick look around me here. See any snow? No snow. That's much to their dismay. Leroy Pukrup has snowmobiled since the 60s, and he's loved it ever since. So much so that he's the president of the Polka Snows Snowmobile Club. Although there's been some off years in that time, he says there's clear effects of global warming in recent years, and patterns are changing.
Absolutely, because years ago, even when I was young, you had a rain in January. It rained and you had ice, but that was a day event. Now, when it rains, it's a 10-day event. You know, the temperatures come in, they get warm, and they stay warm.
The club has around 100 members that pay $25 dues that get them access to the trails and events the club hosts. What's their reception of the warm weather been like?
Usually that doesn't happen until we get the first 4 to 6 inches of snow. Then everybody wants to know when the trails are going to open up.
There's not just an effect on riders with the barren landscape. Local restaurants and club sponsors like Backwoods Bar and Grill that host their steak feed and spring raffle miss out on the bump they get from the winter sports traffic.
You're looking at the economic impact. Well, here in the southern part, yeah, there's an impact on the restaurants and bars, but if it doesn't snow up north, there's a real problem because that's tourism there.
It's not just the lack of snow that's causing problems either. It's the lack of cold. That makes it so areas like marshes aren't freezing over, so the rollers can't be brought out to groom the area, further delaying prep. Leroy tells me all I can really do is hope Mother Nature brings more snow Stevens Point's way. And that way, snowmobilers can get back to what they love most, and to them is the most wonderful time of the year. Live in Stevens Point, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW.
All that remains are the memories after a popular Eagle River restaurant is torn down after being destroyed by fire. Thank you for joining us. I'm Melissa Langben. We do have a couple of developing stories tonight, but first at 5, firefighters from Eagle River and several other communities battled out-of-control flames this morning. News 9's Jimmy Sadowski talked with people there as investigators work to determine how that fire ignited.
After a fire, Off the Chain, a beloved Eagle River eatery, appears to be a near to total loss after crews started tearing into the building. The call for a fire came just after 5:30 Monday morning. When crews arrived, they found fire tearing through Off the Chain restaurant, which has stood for decades. People driving by tell me they were stunned, filming the scene. And although the fire became contained, too much damage was done, and crews had to come in to tear the remnants down. The restaurant's many patrons say they're going to miss it dearly.
I'm actually pretty sad about it. To me, this was a historic building. My family used to visit this back in the 60s and 70s when it was the Checo restaurant.
And the fire could not have come at a worse time.
I don't know these owners personally, but I know there were people who lived upstairs, so this is going to be something pretty tragic for this Christmas. I would hope the community would come together and maybe help out if needed.
Eagle River is a tight-knit community, and their area dining places mean a lot more than just a place to grab a quick bite to eat.
And the restaurants in this particular area are pretty popular. We see them pretty busy all the time, so economically it would be really nice if something could go back into this space.
Everyone got out safe, and the Vilas County Sheriff said he could not provide further comment other than the press release that was sent out, and the fire's cause is still being investigated. We've reached out to the restaurant's owners to see what's next. We're still waiting to hear back. In Eagle River, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW. Nacho's Mexican Grill is close to a complete loss earlier this month in a fire. But another local business, Randy's Bambinos, has stepped up to the plate to provide them with a temporary location. Seeing his business in downtown Tomahawk go up in flames left Nacho down, but not out.
Well, we're devastated. It was terrible when we find out I was on fire. I mean, everything happened for a reason. I don't know. God knows only why.
He's thankful for all the support from the community and the Chamber of Commerce, but he is ready to get back in. Thanks to a tip from someone who worked in another business destroyed by the fire, he is.
Andrea, Century 21, she moved forward right away and say, hey, why don't you buy it? Why don't you rent from him? And I say, yeah, I think I can rent.
Hi, thanks for calling Bambinos. This will be our last week.
Randy Van Otter from Randy's Bambinos wanted to retire after nearly a quarter century of his family owning the business. Nacho asked about moving in. Randy agreed and couldn't be happier to know his building will be in good hands.
A win-win in that respect where I get to maybe go on to another chapter of my life and then let Nacho take over the building here and hopefully run another still successful business. I know that he had a great business down there. So
Randy and company are slicing their last tomatoes and making their last batches of pizza sauce for the week. The salad and soup bar is gone, but they do have specials on beer and ice cream as well if people want to stop by. Nacho won't change Bambino's appearance too much.
Maybe the art, we can change some. I don't know, yeah. I had to look into it as soon as I take over.
Nacho said there will be job openings for the new location, so keep an eye on Nacho's Facebook page for the openings and when the new location will open. In Tomahawk, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW. On October 5th, CWA flyers of all ages get to say hello to Avello and start embarking on vacations to Orlando. Since then, people have been wondering, how's it all been going? That's what I came down to find out today. One Avello flight came in, and right after, another took off on Thursday. A flight linking central Wisconsin to Florida may have seemed like an odd choice for some, but travelers from all across the Badger State are taking advantage, like Joey, who's competing in the U.S. Paralympic Swimming National Championships this weekend.
Fly backstroke. Flying backstrokes is, yeah, he's a butterflyer. He's a good butterflyer.
You're going to win, right?
Okay.
And travelers who have used Avello say, so far, everything has been smooth. Some I spoke with have even taken the trip multiple times over the past few months.
No delays. Flights have all been on time, and I've gotten to where I needed to go. The fares are so reasonable. I can barely fill up my gas tank in my car for what this airfare costs me.
For us, Florida has its appeal, but the flight coming back to Wisconsin is often packed, bringing Floridians eager to experience up north.
I've been to Milwaukee before, not up here.
What brought you here?
Coming to see the Bucks play.
One girl going to Orlando couldn't be more excited to go to the most magical place on earth.
My friend Izzy wants me to tell Minnie Mouse I say hi, but I'm mostly looking forward to having one of those headbands with like the mini ears.
The last 2 weeks of December and first 2 weeks of January, there's going to be some extra Avello flights for holiday travel. We'll have the specifics on our website, www.waow.com. In Mosinee, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW. Once more snow hits, the trails here at Minocqua Winter Park will be ready for skiers of all levels to come to the #1 cross-country ski resort by USA Today. It's easy to see why the Winter Park topped the charts for cross-country skiing in USA Today. Around every corner there are sites that look like they were pulled straight out of a Bob Ross painting. A little river over here, some snowy trees over there, and staff go over their trails with a fine-toothed comb to make sure they're in tip-top shape.
Our operations team pays very close attention to detail, and if a trail isn't groomed to those expectations, they'll make sure to fix it.
65 miles of trails, some of which going all the way to Wausau provide some much-needed solitude as well.
Because we have so many trails, and they're vast, in the park, that people come here to recharge and enjoy a really nice ski, in the woods away from all the hustle and bustle.
There's also a number of snowshoeing trails, and on holiday weekends, the hills are opened up for tubing. Feel like ice skating on a pond? They've got that too. And if you're in need of gear, either to rent or buy, Zeke from the ski shop will hook you up.
We're selling fun, so it's generally people are excited to be here, and we get to get people outside and outdoors and doing active, healthy things.
A new addition of the ski shop is a room filled with apparel like coats and boots as well. As the year goes on, there will be a few events too, one popular one being the Candlelight Snowshoe, where 300 candles light a hiking route. Skiing, tubing, snowshoeing, there's a little something for everyone here. Just make sure to bring your coat. It'll be cold. In Minocqua, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW.
It looks like it won't be a white Christmas for us, but it's not stopping crews at Sylvan Hill in Wausau from making snow. The hill opened up for the season not too long ago, and News 9's Jimmy Sadowski is there live with how things may look a bit different this year. Jimmy?
Yeah, Eric, again, it's opening day here at Sylvan Hill. They just opened up at 6. Not too many people. You can see here pretty much just the crews, but they do expect a lot more people to come this weekend who want to enjoy what little snow the Wausau area has to offer. For most of Wisconsin, snow hasn't been a very common sight these past few months. Instead, it's been warmer days and some rain. But with nights dipping down below freezing and the help of some snow guns, Sylvan Hill says they'll do what they can to bring people a little winter fun.
We were able to get the one hill complete, started on the second one, and then the weather took another turn for us, but we are able to open this weekend.
And he wasn't kidding about the second hill. If you didn't know any better, you'd think it was spring and half the snow melted away after a rainstorm. But they are making do with the hand Mother Nature dealt them and the rest of us this winter.
That's going to be entirely weather dependent. You know, if we stay in the 30s, there's not going to be any snow made. So long-term forecast doesn't look that great. So hopefully we can get this thing up and going here. We'll see next few weeks probably.
The chalet will also be open if anyone needs to use the restroom or grab a bite. Ticket sales are in the basement of the chalet. And speaking of sales, snow's not really a gift most people can buy.
Hopefully the Wausau Marathon County Park Department can help provide a little winter gift for everyone.
And this Christmas weekend, if you want to come down and get in some tube time, they say you most certainly can. Just keep an eye on the weather because that is going to be the determining factor. Live in Wausau, Jimmy Sadowski, News 9, WAOW.